So last week we looked at 5 of my favourite features in the new release of Nomad Sculpt. And what I decided to do this week is 2 things. One, the first part of the video I want to do some celebration about the 10,000 subscribers that we've got and a bit of an explanation about where the channel's going. And then I want to have a look at those 5 new features in Nomad and just talk about where I would use them in a project. And this particular project, as you can see, is going to be all about Swamp Thing. So we'll look at the main features I use in Nomad Sculpt. So before we take a look at the new features in Nomad Sculpt and Swamp Thing, let's just take a minute to celebrate some amazing stuff. So we've just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is mind-blowing. We started this channel last July. We did have the channel for quite a few years before that, but we always use Vimeo. Last July, we chose to start this in earnest and we had 800 people on the list and we've now got 10,000. So thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, and I really hope we've been able to help you along your creative journey. Our core message is helping you create in new and innovative ways, and that's what we want to continue doing. We've sold 1,000 courses in that time with students in 58 countries. That's 29.75% of the world. So let's just round it to 30% so we can celebrate. So thank you so much if you're one of those people, and I really hope that you feel like we've had an impact on your creativity and your creative life. We started this journey by teaching things like Forger and Nomad, and certainly in VR with things like Adobe Medium and Gravity Sketch, and they're all new and exciting ways to create things. My core skill is teaching ZBrush, and we're going to get back to teaching that, but I really passionately wanted to get people to start sculpting who've never sculpted before. So I'm really hoping that a lot of the people watching this video are in that category, which is someone who's wanted to do this and never ever found a way to get in there and try it. I came from a corporate life, so I started as an artist in my teens, couldn't maintain that, and went into business and learned some business skills and some training skills, and I came back and started my company as a freelancer. So I went from freelancer to freelancer working in studios to working in studios and on movies and TV, and then onto owning my own company. And I want to really help people do what I've done. So I want you to earn money making and creating in the way you've always wanted to do, and we've already made a good inroad into that. We're going to add in things like business skills, we're going to add in things of how to create your own channel and do what we've been able to do, and we're going to share all those skills over the next few months. So what's coming imminently then, we're going to offer YouTube memberships soon, so watch out for that. And that's going to be, for those of you who can afford it, there's going to be a membership site where we give you a little bit extra, and I absolutely guarantee if you can't afford that and you don't want that, then you're not going to see any difference to the channel. We're also going to offer mentoring, which I've done for the last 20 years anyway, and we're going to offer that to companies and individuals that feel that they need to move their business or skill set on. Overall, what I wanted this little bit to be is a massive thank you to anyone who's been along with us on this few very short months of a journey that have really helped me through the pandemic. It's helped me teach more people, which has changed my mindset and kept me motivated, and I really hope that in some small way we've helped you through a very difficult time. If you're a creative and you've needed to find that outlet, I'd like to think that I've helped a couple of you to do that. So thank you so much for being here so far. Let's take a look at Swamp Thing in Nomad Sculpt. One of the techniques and one of the processes that I use the most is to build up my creatures and characters using primitives. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with going to the primitive tab and bringing in any primitive you want, and then just bringing it all together as similar to what you're seeing on screen, and then merging it together. But with the insert brush, you just simply get a tool or a brush to do that in one panel. So it basically allows me to bring in whether I want a sphere or a cone or you know, whatever I need from a shape to allow me to get that rough block out. And as you can see there, very quickly, although this is a time lapse, you will appreciate that just pushing those primitives together is a very simple process to get that block out done. Then I merge it, and there are a few new features in there for multi-resolution voxel remesh, and that might not mean something to everyone, but normally we think of multi-resolution to do with subdivision modeling, but obviously now we've got a way to do it in voxel remeshed model. So I'm going to explore that in more videos if you're not sure. So my process, I've done the insert brushes, I've brought all of the shape to to a level that I think I can sculpt on, and this is me now sculpting on it with the normal brushes. And I use very few tools, so it's normally clay, it's normally things like the crease brush, the move tool obviously is crucial, and then I voxel remesh all the time just to keep getting the detail, or keep improving the mesh as I'm adding detail for the block out, or as I'm adding detail for the block out. So I'm looking at primary forms, which is, I'm looking for like an ear, I'm looking for the chin, the shape of the head. I try and put one of everything on it, as you'll know if you followed any of my courses. And I try and do all of that in what I call the creation time, which is when you can use this remeshing and you can change the model massively, and you can basically build up those forms as much as you need. Now, save brushes is where, if for example I make something like Damn Standard Equivalent, which is a great brush in ZBrush, if I've made it or made something equivalent in Nomad, normally every time we reboot we lose it. So now what you've got the ability to do is to save those brushes. So if I make a tool for scoring out wrinkles or making really nice marks in the skin, then I can just simply duplicate the tool that I've made before I make the brush, and then save that out, and that comes back every time you reload Nomad. So that one for me has been, I've been thinking about it a lot this last week since I did the 5 tips video. That's one that I'm going to use a lot over time, because what I'll do is I'll work out the brushes that I need to do specific jobs, and then I'll try and build a pack of what I need. And you can actually make packs. People will make packs and sell you these packs soon, I assume, because you can just copy them out of your Nomad default folder. So I'm just adding some lights there, which is what I tend to do when I've started to get some, I've started to get a shape that I'm liking. I change the matte cap quite a lot, and then I change to PBR and then have a look at it with lights. I've just put the post-processing on there. I've put ambient occlusion on so I can have a look at the, what it looks like where the light's dropping on it, and there's in the occluded areas or the deep recesses. It doesn't look particularly brilliant, but it works for me. And then onto this one, which is Tube Brush. This is one of my favorites of the new additions. So this is basically a way to draw either a path or a curve, and then add tubes and pipes and tentacles and anything that really is organic and long. So if you use, what I'm using there is a path. I've drawn down some points on a spline, and then adjust the spline points, snap them together if needed, just simply by dragging them together, and then I adjust it around to get it into the right sort of place. And then you can do a number of things with the topology underneath. So you can go high and low poly, so you could make it into a cube if you go all the way down, and you'd have a long piece of extended piping, like steel work or something like that. Or you can do here where I've gone high res and I've gone thick at one end, thin at the other, and that gives me the tentacle for Swamp Thing. So that's an exact example of where I would use this kind of tool. And it would be nice if we could project along this spline, which I'm sure will come in the future. So for example, if you wanted to have the suckers on the tentacles, then that would be exactly what we'd need. And you can get that in programs like ZBrush, where you have insert multi-mesh brushes, and that's a much more powerful version of what we're seeing here. But this is on the iPad. I can't stress this enough. This is giving us some of that functionality, but on our mobile devices. So it really does help to to know that you can go back and forth between programs like Blender and ZBrush with this kind of stuff. So there, I've moved on now. I've added some lighting again. I've started to think about the back of the head. I'm just pulling out shapes where I feel I can go. I've got the core anatomy down, got the core shape working, some of the main muscle groups are done. I'm now thinking about using the tube brush again. I'm thinking now roots and branches and all of the detail on the surface now. So that's where, again, that tube brush is just fantastic for exactly this need. So I'm just duplicating it from the scene menu, and then I'll just drag it around and get it to, I mean, it looks like it's sticking to the surface there, but it's not. That's just me pushing it in and out. So there's no snapping to a surface yet that I'm aware of. So just reform it a little bit, shape it a bit more until we come to this, which is the lathe brush. So I needed a mushroom, and this is how quick it is to do a mushroom. So with the lathe brush, straight away, just draw. It's like a revolve, or you know, or a lathe, depending on the different programs that you go to. And it's just a case of draw the shape you want, knowing that it's going to get revolved 360 degrees, and there we go. We have our first mushroom. So again, this kind of project, you know, the Swamp Thing idea turned out to be like a fantastic example of how to use these 5 new tools, because pretty much it's made for it, because we're doing things like mushrooms that need a lathe. So a little bit of paint in there. Again, this entire project was 1 hour and 45, so I didn't labor with details overall. I just got the shapes out as quick as I could, which is, again, why Nomad's a great tool for me. I just placed one, duplicated it, placed another. Now, incidentally, just to thinking about it, this is an iPad 2020, and it's got 6 gig of RAM. So this is one of the stronger iPads. So, but even with that, I'm always careful about the size of each of these models. So before I do this, I would probably voxel remesh that mushroom down to a lower level, and then that means I'm not, if I get ended up with 30 or 40 of them, suddenly it could be a lot of polygons. So messed around with the lighting a bit more. Keep changing that lighting. That's something I would always stress to you if you're learning this stuff, because a model looks so different. It's all about the lighting. The reason we see anything is because of light. So if you think about it, the sculpting is one part of it, but actually how light hits it and how we see that then is the real world. So you've got to be looking at it in context, and that means matte caps sometimes, change those HDRIs, move the light around, 3-finger roll around to change the lighting. Always be looking at how that light is going to affect your model, because you could spend hours in one material and then it looks garbage in the next one. So just be mindful of that. So you can see now I've changed the lighting quite dramatically there, probably too much, and there's not enough what we call specular highlight in the skin, so there's no shine or gloss to that wood. So that was something I probably picked up at that point. Doing a bit of painting and using I'm using crease, but the inverted crease there. So that means it's giving me veins, and I leave the color on, sometimes inverted, sometimes not inverted. So it's either going in and scoring in, or basically adding to the surface. So again, more lighting now. So I've thrown some green in there because it's going to be in a swamp, because it's going to be lit inside a green environment. Then I want to see what that looks like. Here's the curvature. Now this is in the post-processing, so I wanted just to see if I change the curvature, and that basically gives you the ability to change the color in your cavities. So that's a nice one to have a play with and see. And as you can see, this is, but bear in mind, this is only an hour or so's work, so we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for design. We're looking for shape. We're looking for form. Nomad isn't about the finished product. It's about helping you on the journey to create something. It's the way I would describe it to people. And you may take this to ZBrush or Blender or Maya or wherever when you've done the retopology and make it a whole different technical build. But at the moment, this is just the design. This is me creating something. I'm using lots of reference, by the way. So I've picked up loads of bits of off screen here. I'm looking at, all sorts of like forest denizens and tree ants and Swamp Thing itself. I try not to focus too much on, making it look like someone else's Swamp Thing, although there are a couple of references in there where I wanted to stay true. So the mushrooms was used in quite a few people's art, and I looked at the recent TV show, and there's quite a bit of kind of roots and mushrooms on there. So spotlight then, big change. So we used to have the ability to put 3 world lights in as well as the HDRI, and now you can change those world lights to spotlights. And that's one of the things in a video I'm going to talk about soon, which is how to do like a key light and rim light and fill light, and how to make your models pop before you've even finished them. And I'll talk about that specifically in that video. But for now, you can see how that spotlight is helping me make really, you know, really strong decisions about the design. You can see me messing around a lot at this stage because I'm just finding different ideas and shapes and colors. The overall model is pretty much finished at this point. You know, there's a lot of detailing to do. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of things to add, like little branches and roots and stuff like that. But I really like to play with the overall look of the model at this stage, and that's half of the battle really, which is because we're doing something visual. You know, just sculpting it's not enough. Making it pop as a piece is where it's going to make a difference, and then you're going to add in things like the post-processing to do things like sharpness and the vignette that you can see all around the, you know, the black outline there. I just did it then. The black outline is showing you that, you know, this is to focus on one thing, not the environment. And the environment is just a blurred image, so it's just as, you know, just like a bash out picture of a forest, shapes, and then just blurred. And then we're close to the final for this point. And when I say final, I just mean the bit that I showed on Instagram and Twitter. It's not a final, as in it's not finished, but there you can see it's me just calling that a point where I can show it. That's that in a screenshot. And then you'll see the next bit is just it's a real-time renderer, so it's just showing me working on the iPad and what this can look like when you just play with it in Nomad on your screen like that. So that's a bit about my workflow. I am going to do this entire video as a full hour plus video, which I'll put out later in April. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed looking at how I approach something like that in Nomad Sculpt.